Hey, this is Dave. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to take a look at two records from the 1990s that feature keyboardist and vocalist Roger Manning. So sometime in 1993, I was working with a girl, kind of like a punk rocker type chick, and she said to me she bought an album and she absolutely hates it. And if I wanted, I could buy it from her for $5. Being the guy that always was out to look for new music, I'm like, all right, here's $5. Just bring it to work tomorrow, and I'll take it. So I did, and that album was JellyFish, Spilt Milk. The album basically features all songs by Andy Sturmer and Roger Manning, except for one song that Andy wrote by himself. Personally, I feel like the band is more Andy's band. But I absolutely love this album. And I think this album is a very overlooked record. I think that the songwriting on this record is fantastic. And it's basically like a tip of the hat, which is why I'm wearing the hat so I can tip it. It's a tip of the hat to the 70s. I mean, these songs are all, we talk a little bit about being derivative. And I've mentioned that word a few times. This I wouldn't say is derivative as much as it's inspired by, and it's so refreshing and great. I mean, you basically have a band that sounds like Queen meets the Beach Boys, meets ELO, meets Todd Rundgren, meets Supertramp. I mean, you take all those elements, and it's fantastic. So let's take a look at this album song for song. The album opens with what, oddly enough, to me should be the album finisher. Being someone that likes to listen to music when I go to bed, it's like this big lush lullaby. Hush, go to sleep. But it's really nice. It's a good song. It's short. It's like a 2-minute thing, and it takes us right into the next song, "Joining a Fan Club," which opens with like this real heavy Queen style riff, and then goes on to almost like 70s bubblegum pop. But it's fun, and I will say that the first 2 or 3 songs on the record are probably the weakest, which is probably why this record didn't do that well as the song placement. Because as the album goes, it gets better. So we get to the third song, and it's called Sabrina Paste and Play-Doh. And Play-Doh is spelled like the philosopher as some type of joke. A very campy, again, syrupy bubblegum. But even though I'm calling it bubblegum and it's somewhat cheesy, and if it was in this, there's something very appealing about it, and you can see that it's very well written. It's not like it's like campy, and then so I can understand right away when I heard the first 3 songs. I'm like, well, I can see why this girl wouldn't like it, because it's definitely campy. But then we get to the 4th song, and the 4th song is where I feel like the band starts to focus a little bit more on its own sound, a little bit more like what the first album was. However, I never had the first album at this point. The song's called New Mistake, and it's great. It's could be one of my favorites on the record. It's very there's some Beach Boy elements to it. There's some ELO, maybe even The Move type of feel to it. I can't say enough good things about it. And then it goes into the next song, which is Gluttonous Sympathy, which is a little bit more introspective, but really nice. I mean, when it gets to the "I can see it in your eyes," I mean, it's just, there's some really, it's again, I can't stress how good I think the writing is on this record. I think that this album is a very underrated record. And Glutton of Sympathy is just right up there with some of the best acoustic songs, if you stripped it down to acoustic. But overall, even the production on this record is just great. The next song was the single on the record, and that was called The Ghost at Number 1. This song again, I think it's great. It has a definite '70s sound. It's not my favorite song on the album, but again, even the worst song on the album is good. So this is something that I think you would like. It's probably one of the big, like I said, I think it's the biggest hit on the record, and it's very good. So after the Ghost at number one, we then get to Bye Bye Bye, which is a carnival feel with a two feel. Again, I can't stress enough that these songs are great. Every song from this point just seems to be getting better and better. But yeah, Bye 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 is up there melodically, sonically. After Bye Bye Bye, we get to All Is Forgiven, which is a little bit more angry, up tempo. Still another great song. Maybe my least favorite in the second half of the album, but still a really good song. Now we get to the beautiful song Russian Hill. I believe this is Andy Sturma's song that he wrote by himself, and it's just a beautiful song. It's I just, like I said, the chords, the melodies, everything about this record I really like, and I can't recommend enough. It's definitely on the lighter side of '70s sound, even though, like I said, there are some Queen elements and there is some overdriven guitars. This is very much like, I could even say it's there's a lot of McCartney and Wings in here. There's definitely, you can hear that element. The next song is called He's My Best Friend, and it almost reminds me of the Partridge Family a little bit, even the beginning, the ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba. I mean, it's really funny. And of course, it's about man's best friend, his penis. And it's just a great, clever song. I mean, obviously, lyrically, it's completely joking around because, like I said, I wasn't joking. It's about his penis. But it's a great song. And like I said, it's just imagine if the Partridge Family were singing about it. That's basically what it sounds like. But it's great. It's really good. So now we get to the song that's probably my favorite on the record, Too Much, Too Little, Too Late. I think this song is probably like the best written song, in my opinion. It's just a great song. I keep saying the same things, but it reminds me of like Todd Rundgren. If you know Todd Rundgren's material, and then people will always talk about Can We Still Be Friends, I Saw the Light, We Gotta Get You a Woman, Hello, It's Me. But people that really know his catalog know there's some great songs. It wouldn't have made any. I mean, everything on Something Anything. It wouldn't have made any difference. Just One Victory. There's so many great songs, and I feel like this is like almost like a greatest hits collection from a '70s band. That's what it sounds like to me. I think you can't go wrong. Like I said, you're not going to run out and pick up your guitar and play along to this album. You might, but I didn't. It doesn't make me feel like I want to play. It just makes me want to sit back and listen. And it's a good vibe, good feeling record. The last song on the album is Brighter Day. And again, that's like a two feel, but it's a slower, draggier thing. But really a great melody. A lot of cool parts to that song. I think overall that this album, I would give this record probably, I mean, I didn't bring it up before in my records that I talked about, but I think this album is like a 9.5, and it's one of those albums that completely overlooked. This album is much more my speed because as a guitar player, and I was the guy into shred, I was into Van Halen when he came out. I was a huge Glenn Tipton from Judas Priest fan, and then I got into Maiden, I was into Malmsteen. I was into shred. But when it came to like records and stuff that I would listen to more, I am much more interested in songwriting than I am in how fast a guy can play a harmonic minor scale. This is on a complete side note, speaking of the harmonic minor scale. But have you ever noticed like guitar players who are into like the neoclassical thing? If you ask them what three guitar players, like who their influences are, they'll always name two guitar players and a classical musician, like somehow because they play the harmonic minor scale, that they feel like they're tied into a classical musician, of which they could probably name one or two pieces of and only parts of them. I find it to be hilarious. A buddy of mine, Bingham, we used to always joke around. We ran the store. We used to talk. People would be like, "Oh, who do you like?" And it's like, "Oh, I'm big into Malmsteen, Uli Roth, Paganini, And it's just an ongoing joke. You just named two guitar players and a classical musician. But anyways, that's just a complete side note, but I get a kick out of that. But for me, I'm much more into the the songs and the artist. And so if you're looking to find an album from the 90s that you think, hey, listen, I want to hear something that's new that I haven't heard, these are great songs. Um, I just think this is a very overlooked album. The next album I'm going to talk about is even more overlooked because I don't even think people even heard of the band. But anyways, that's my review of Spilt Milk by JellyFish. I think it's one of the best records of the 1990s. I think it's a must-have for your collection. You may not love every song. I do, but I think some of the early stuff is campy. But I'm confident in my sexuality enough that I can listen to those songs. Thank you. But yeah, I mean, it is a great record. A great record. And then you wonder, where the hell's Andy Sturmer? Because these songs are brilliant. And the first JellyFish album is definitely a must-go to check out. I don't think it's as good as Spilt Milk, but there's a lot of great on it. A lot of great. Okay. So the next record I want to talk about came out in 1996. This is Roger Manning's band. Roger Manning was the keyboard player in JellyFish with Andy Sturmer, and Roger Manning co-wrote these songs all with Eric Dover. Eric Dover is one of my favorite singers. He has a band called Sextus now. Or that might be over now too, who knows. But as far as this band goes, the band's called Imperial Drag. I loved it. The album's just Imperial Drag. It came out in 1996, and I was lucky that after the album came out, they performed at the Viper Room in Hollywood, and I got to see them, which was great. A small little venue like that right up front. I had a great time. All right, let's take a look at the record. This album is much more glam rock than the JellyFish album. Where the JellyFish has more of the syrupy pop sound, this is much more sweet, meets Slade, meets... I don't even know if that's fair because I think the vocalist Eric Dover here is a great vocalist. So the album opens up with a song called Zodiac Sign. And, just real clever, 70s cliche, rockin'. It's just great. I can't say enough about it. Great writing again, but completely different. This is, again, it's like another taste of the 70s from the same keyboard player, and he's co-written this stuff. But the thing is like this is like a different side of the 70s, which I love. They're both great. I would personally say if I had a choice, the JellyFish stuff is probably more for the songwriter, whereas the rock and roll guy, the rocker, is gonna love Imperial Drag. And I don't even know if this album's still in print. It's fantastic. It's great. Let's go to the second song. The second song is Boy or a Girl, which asks the question, are you a boy or a girl? Or as he says, are you an Elvis or Priscilla? I think at some point in the song. It's, again, very clever. This one isn't my favorite on the record. There's a couple that I think are standouts, but it's all good. I mean, both albums here are like pizza and sex. When it's great, it's great. And when it's bad, it's still pretty good. So let's move on to 3. The third song's called Cross-Eyed, and it might be my favorite. It's so good. Very heavy. This has a vibe. Like I say, I think this record is up there. This is... Cross-Eyed, just the groove in the chorus on the guitar is killing. It's killing. In fact, I think like if there's a band out there that's doing covers and kind of doing 90s stuff, I think Cross-Eyed would be a great song to throw in there because people would be like, what the hell is this song? And 2, why don't I know it? Because it's great. The next song is Man on the Moon, and I think this is my least favorite on the record. It's a little bit more haunting, but it's just a little, it's a little flat for me. But still, like I said, a good song. The next song's called Breakfast by Tiger. Kiss It All Goodbye, in parentheses. No idea what the song means, but it's a great, great song. Now we're getting back to what's like cross-eyed. So I think so far we've said the first song, Zodiac Sign, Cross-Eyed, and Breakfast by Tiger are three like fantastic songs. Man on the Moon and Boy or a Girl, again, seems to be a little bit more radio intensive, and it's like to me it just misses the mark a little bit more than like the JellyFish stuff did. Playboy After Dark, great song. What can I say? It's just great. It's a great groove. I mean, again, this vibe is totally 70s glam rock, and it's great. All right, now this next song is called Illuminate, and Illuminate is probably one of the more mellow songs on the album. And the reason why I'm struggling with talking about it is because I said Cross-Eyed is probably my favorite, and Illuminate is definitely my favorite. If you're willing to... just the melody, everything about this song is great. I mean, I can't say enough about it. It is... it's just my speed. It's got a great vibe, it's great melody, great song. I can't say enough about it. I think it's, to me, it's my favorite song on the record. Again, if you're more of the rocker, you're going to like the ones I mentioned before. But this one is just great. The great thing about Illuminate is that it takes us right back into Spider, which is, I think it's a song about a drug dealer. Great, though. It's one of those upbeat songs. It's got this laid-back groove, and it's funny because there's like a British guy talking in the front of the song saying it's laid back, and it's just got this nice, like, I'm trying to think of what song it reminds me of, that groove. I can't even think of it. But anyway, Spider's a great song. The next song is Overnight Sensation. Again, another upbeat tune. It's just great. Again, it's so much glam and yet pop sensibility. Again, it didn't make me want to grab my guitar, but these albums, I think, are two albums that can't be overlooked. And I hope I'm not boring you by just going over each song, but I just did want to talk a little bit about each one. But some, of course, what can I say, except for it's just a great song. And the next one is the Salvation Army Band, which is another great song. Then it goes into Dandelion, which is a great song. I mean, I think this record is just great. Stare Into the Sun is another great song. Scaredy Cats and Egomaniacs is another great song. The last song is an untitled song called Down with the Man, and it's very cool as well. I can't say enough good things about these records, and I can't really talk and describe these albums to you and have you go, oh, that sounds interesting. Just go and listen to the record. If you're going to listen to the JellyFish album, or you want to check it out, go on YouTube and check out Too Much, Too Little, Too Late, or check out Russian Hills, great. Check out New Mistake. If you're going to look up the Imperial Drag album, check out Illuminate, which is one of my favorites, but it's slower. But if you're into the upbeat glam stuff, check out Zodiac Sign, check out Cross-Eyed, and Spider, and it's spelled with a Y, S-P-Y-D-E-R. Both these albums, like I said, feature keyboardist Roger Manning. I don't know much about him. He seems to be co-writer with both these bands, but the bands definitely sound more like the other guy who's writing, because they're both very different. I mean, I've heard Eric Dover's stuff other than Imperial Drag, and it's very similar. So I feel like he might be somebody that really dials that person in to their writing and helps them along in that way with chords and whatnot. But it's great, and I can't say enough good things about these two records. I'd like to keep this short. Get both albums, check them out, listen to them. I think that they're underrated albums and ones you'd never hear. So anyways, this is Dave. Have a great day. I'm out of here. Very good.